Most of you guys watching know that I'm a huge car fan. I'm a massive petrol head, and I know that loads of you guys are too. From reading comments in the past where I've tried to integrate cars with my mountain bike videos, I know that people kind of appreciate that link, and that if you're into bikes, you're often into cars as well. And I'm no different. I am so passionate about the motorsport world. And this thing, I know a lot of you guys know about this, but this is the first time I'm making a video talking about it. I have to pinch myself when I look at this car, but for the last few months since buying it, I've sort of tried to tease it on Instagram stories and things, but I've been so hesitant and reserved about, I guess, addressing it, because I don't know why. I'm incredibly proud and like so into this, but I guess essentially I never wanted to show off or drift too far away from bikes, which essentially I know is why most of you guys are here. But from making previous videos about my Porsche GT3, my C63 AMG before that, I know that so many of you guys are into cars too. And the C63 to this day will always be my dream car. That was it. A big, loud, shouty V8. That's when I was younger, I wanted one so badly. I was desperate, and I couldn't believe the day I got to buy one. And now a few years down the line, I'm talking about this thing. It is just chaotic, but here goes. This is my first time. We're gonna be walking around it. We'll take it driving. We'll listen to it. Hit some greasy B roads. It's gonna be sick. And this is my Lamborghini Huracan Performante, which I've never said to a camera before. It's the craziest thing ever. It's so sick. It is the sickest car. I love Lamborghinis. The theatre about them, just the look, the loudness, like the vibe they offer. But the standard Lamborghini Huracan, bizarrely, never interested me that much. It was when the Performante came out in 2018. It was like, that is the car. That thing is insane. The wing, the carbon, the shape, all the things they've changed, which I'll talk about in a minute. This is just the embodiment of what I love. It's like a very, very track-focused road car, which is so usable as a daily driver. I don't use it as a daily driver. I'm not like an out-of-control baller. I'd be bankrupt the moment I took it anywhere unnecessarily. It lives in the garage a lot. But I've done a lot of miles in it. I've gone on Supercar Driver Club days, which is a members club I'm part of, where I've taken my GT3 as well. And those guys actually have made a video about both cars, which is probably the reason, if you're watching and you've seen this car before, that's where you would have seen it. So let's walk around. I've had it about 8 months. Like I say, this is the first time talking about the features, but that's given me 8 months to understand it, learn it, use it. So I guess I'm talking from a much better position as an experienced owner, not an experienced driver. I'm no good at driving, but as an experienced owner, I can actually talk about how the features affect the car and things. So the Huracan, it's essentially an Audi R8. A lot of people know that. They're very, very similar. It's powered by a naturally aspirated V10 engine, which is 5.2 litres. This one's tuned up a bit to make 630 horsepower, which is 20 more than the standard Huracan. And some of the material changes and like adding and removing certain parts has reduced the weight by about 40 kilos. So this can accelerate from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds, which is 0.3 quicker than the standard Huracan. 8.9 seconds to get from 0 to 124 mile an hour, and the top speed exceeds 201 miles an hour. It's an absolute animal. It's way more car than I'll ever need, but I still feel like I need it. I love this thing. It's just, it is so cool. The engine's right back here. You can look at the engine. There it is. It's got this sick bronze engine cover. That's a V10 right there. But this spec, it took me a while to find the perfect spec. They come in orange, purple, blue. The wheels are different colors. The calipers are different colors. This was the dream one. I wanted a black one. I really, really wanted a black Lamborghini. I don't think I could pull off a purple one or an orange or a green one. But the hardest thing to find was black paint to go with this crazy composite carbon, which we'll look at in a minute, but with the bronze alloys. These 20-inch bronze alloys are amazing. They also do a center lock inversion, which aren't bronze or the same shape, but I love these wheels. They are just sick. I mean, the brakes, come and look at the size of the front brakes. All the Performantes come spec with carbon ceramic brakes, which have enormous calipers. The rotors are humongous. You can't believe how well this car stops. It's not a very heavy car, given that it's got a huge engine, but it's a very track-focused weapon. So the other huge change, other than shedding weight and adding power, on the standard Huracan, which made the Performante a very, very special car, and it actually set the Nürburgring lap time for the fastest production car when it came out in 2018, is this, ALA, Aerodynamica Lamborghini Activa. That is Active Aero. It was pretty much the first time, I think, on a road car that they'd adopted that Active Aero technology from F1 and racing and put it into this car. So round the front and in the back end here on the wing, there's flaps that open and close to change and channel air over the wing or under the wing, and the same at the front, and that can reduce or increase downforce. You might think, why the hell would you reduce downforce? You want grip. Well, downforce and adding this big wing reduces this car's ability to accelerate and get to a good top speed because downforce creates drag. So the fact that this car has the option to not only take that downforce away on the straights to get a huge top speed, but also it can channel it left and right. So when you're going around corners, when we go out on the road later, I'll turn on the ALA system, and it even shows you on this little graphic that you might be getting downforce on the left side of the car in certain turns or the right. It's insane. I personally have no idea what it feels like. I've driven this car really hard, but like I wouldn't know if the left side of the wing's doing more than the right. I just wouldn't. I think it comes down to these little perforated marks in the bottom of the wing here too, like they all help. There's air intakes here. This air moves all over the car. There's the vents in the front are enormous. You can just imagine at top speed like how much air is passing through there and it's getting all sent around the car. It's a crazy thing. I could never imagine I was ever going to own one, but I was very into this car. I watched so many videos about it from Top Gear, Car Wow, Doug DeMero, Evo, like I read about it in magazines. It's also surprisingly drivable. A friend of mine has a Lamborghini Aventador SV, which is a very different car. It's a lot wider, longer. It has got the sick gull wing doors. These doors open conventionally, which is ever such a shame, but again, it's an Audi R8, isn't it? And I know the Aventador is quite a nightmare day to day, but this I find extremely practical. It's four-wheel drive, so that 630 horsepower is very usable actually. Even in the wet, you get a little, it's very rear wheel biased. Once you're over that kind of first gear acceleration, it just sticks to the road insanely well. The rear tyres are 305mm wide, they're massive profile, and it's got front end lift, so there's like a pneumatic system on the front axle which will lift the front up and down really quickly when you're driving. If you come up a big speed hump, you just pick it up, put it back down. That's cool. Visibility wise, it's got nice big wing mirrors, it's got a reversing camera, it's got front and rear parking sensors. All those things that the Porsche GT3 doesn't have make this extremely usable. But one thing that I love so much, and I've not seen on any other cars, is this carbon fibre. It's called composite carbon or crushed chopped carbon. They take a standard weave or layup of carbon fibre and chop it up, crush it and relay it, and that makes it, I think, stronger but definitely lighter. So changing to this carbon fibre in loads of places in the car, here on like this boot lid, there's loads of that carbon in the interior. This whole rear end and diffuser, look, all of that, that's sick. When my dad saw it, he said it was dirty. He thought I hadn't cleaned it properly. But it's a very unique like looking material. It's awesome. The diffuser's huge, isn't it? That goes right under the car. It just all helps with aero and downforce. Look at the exhaust pipe too. I like that there's 2 and not 4. The standard Huracan has 4 low down. They've rerouted them up above the diffuser. They look like NASA rocket ship exhaust. You can hear the thing as well. It sounds ridiculous. It shoots flames. It's insane. And I've always been a massive fan of naturally aspirated cars. I've had 2 C63s, they're naturally aspirated V8s. The Porsche GT3 is a naturally aspirated flat 6, and now a V10. I've never had a turbocharged petrol car. Your M4 is ridiculous, I wouldn't drive one. I wouldn't know how to handle it, mate. Look at that. Cool. And it stays hot for so long. When I park it in the garage and go back 3 hours later, the whole garage is cooking in there. It's like a sauna. These are those vents too, look. So that goes in there and up the wing. Very cool. Again, like hell I'm ever going to notice, but the fact that it's going on, I appreciate. So much carbon. That engine's wild. Look at it. You can see it from sat inside through that little back window, which I haven't cleaned. So, I learnt this from a Doug DeMero video. This car, the closer you look, the more you find, is covered in hexagons. The hexagon shape and theme appears all over this car. So you can see these grills here are just covered in hexagons. There's so many, we'll look around. But the reason for that is hexagons have 6 sides, and 6 is the atomic number on the periodic table for carbon. And because carbon has been such a driving force in bringing the weight down and improving the performance of this car, they've like themed the whole design around the number 6 in hexagons. There's one there on the fuel cap. The little button you press to open the door there is a hexagon. The alloys, all of these are hexagons. All these spokes, which make them a nightmare to clean, but they look trick. The wing mirror, hexagon. That little detailing vent thing there, that's a long elongated hexagon. Headlights, look, even like the actual bulbs, the LEDs are hexagons. It's insane, they're everywhere. They are everywhere, it's hexception. We jump inside. We'll quickly have a look around the interior and then we'll go for a spin. Hopefully not literally, but I mean, look, dude. I didn't clean it inside, by the way. but it's a wild place to be. And the whole car's been protected with PPF from Topaz, which is paint protection film. So all the black paint, all the bodywork is protected with a see-through film of clear coating, which is very, very nice indeed. Let's jump inside. It's a wild place. Here we go. Inside the rocket ship then. The seats are outrageous. They're very, very hard. They're the racing seats. You can get comfort ones or the carbon buckets. I went for the carbon buckets because I think every race car should have race seats. On a long drive, they're pretty uncomfortable, but I think so you deserve to be inside a spaceship. So the hexagon theme continues. You can tell I'm excited about the six-sided shapes. All these air vents, they're all that composite carbon. Along there it says Lamborghini, hexagons, but this control panel and everything, and these, look at the paddles, man. Alcantara wheel, there's a hexagon, there's a hexagon, there's a hexagon, there's a hexagon under the flight, but like the missile nuclear launch code button. It's cool. It's very confusing. So the controls in this car are extremely driver centric. So you can operate everything with your hands in the proper position on the wheel. The paddles don't move. In a lot of cars, the paddles are connected to the wheel, so they turn with you. These always stay there, which is actually quite useful. If you're like turned in, you know where the paddle is. You don't have to like reach for it. But more importantly, the indicators are here on the wheel, right where your thumb is. There's the headlights for full beams. This side you control the washer jets and the windscreen wipers, all from there, so you never have to take your hands off the wheel. There's no stalks. Front lift, that's how you lift the nose up and down. Turn off ESC, and like it's got parking sensors. Can you believe it's got parking sensors? Brilliant. Here you do park, manual, so you can turn it in and out of automatic, reverse. I love that all that stuff is there. There's no gear stick, there's no stalks. It took me so long to figure out how to get it off the forecourt. I bought it from a dealership called Romans in South London, and they sort of handed me the keys, said like enjoy your own, and then I was like, well, how do I get it going? I couldn't even work it out. That's, you can see out the back there, look at that huge rear wing and the engine cover. The only thing is there's nowhere to put anything. Even putting the key there, and I've got a GoPro there, if I go around a corner hard, they go flying out under that seat, so they're gone for the rest of the day. You haven't got anywhere to put a cup, you can't hold a coffee, you can't hold a Red Bull, but there is a hexagon for the big speaker there, look, so that makes up for it. Another big one I spotted. Should we turn it on? Here we go. Nice. Strada mode, so you look at this little button, this is important. Strada, I think, is Italian for street, so that's just street mode. If we flick it into sport, it opens up the exhaust valves. Have a listen. And now, for the main event, Corsa mode is full-blown race. The gearbox is savage, everything's crazy. Watch the dash, listen to the revs come up on idle. Look at that dash. Watch the revs go round, man. Corsa mode. That's the only way to drive it, to be honest. So I did figure out how to get it going. You put your foot on the brake, pull both paddles at the same time, you go into neutral, press that paddle, and I'm in first gear, I'm ready to move. Should we go driving? So the Performante, like I explained, has had all the steering, all the suspension reworked to make it more track focused. But actually, on a straight A road, it's pretty good. It's very usable. It's not too much of a hard ride, especially in Strada mode. When you drop down to Sport and then Corsa, and then you stop down the gears, it's like you start to feel like you're in more of a... Well, it's a bit greasy, isn't it? What a noise! V10s sound like they're in their own class, aren't they? Yeah. It's insane. On public roads, you can't really get up through many gears. It just eats through gears, all four wheels, even in, what's the temperature? 6 degrees and wet, and it still just puts all the power down, it feels. It's insane. I've never, ever driven or experienced a car like it. It's wild. Such a sick place to be. I don't mind the seats, I like it. The guy who helps me sort out the finance on the cars, James, he said to me, have you ever been in a perf? And I said no, and he said it's like hitting a speed bump at 150 mile an hour sat in a bathtub. But actually I've hit potholes, and yeah, you feel it through your spine, but it's because we're basically sat on the floor. Oh my god! The gear changes are insane. Actually in sport mode, not Corsa, they're a lot smoother weirdly. If I go up through the gears,
can't
don't
feel
get
that.
that jolt. There's a G-force meter on there's so much stuff going on in this car. I think it's going to take more than one video to talk about it, but the basic facts are it is an animal. It's absolutely wild. It sounds ridiculous. The steering, everything, the Alcantara wheel, the shape of the wheel, I love it all. It's a bit greasy. You feel how rear biased it is when the car does brake track. I said bike. When the car does brake traction, it's from the rear. Pretty much got air then.
Oh, the brakes are mental.
Yeah, the stopping is insane. A lot of mud on the road. It's quite a weird day to be shooting a car video. There's like mud, oil, grease, cut grass, everything on the road. But I've learned from mistakes in the past in other cars, so I do take it steady. And this is such a special car. I do see it very much as a summer weapon, but just happened to be making this video in January. Sometimes I don't like it. It scares me so much because like the way the car's set up is so confidence inspiring. Like it makes you feel like you're in control. But I've seen so many videos of them just snapping at any moment, and that can happen. And you can't underestimate what 630 horsepower is as a number. It's insane. And being naturally aspirated, you get delivered that what feels like instantly. You don't wait, it doesn't all come at once. It's like constant, and you only need to hit a wet patch with all that load for all 4 tyres, and it gets twitchy. But it's also epic. Oh man! That noise! Can you get your head around that noise? It's the sickest thing ever. Good. Listen to the downshifts. Oh my god! All the crackles. Savage! That is my Huracan Performante. It's still the most surreal thing ever to own a Lamborghini. I never thought I'd own a supercar. I never thought I'd own any cool cars. I just wanted to ride my bike, and now for a short time I get to do both. So I feel extremely lucky, extremely privileged, and also pretty proud. I love this thing. I'm not going to modify it either. If you're going to come on this channel and think I'm going to put air ride on it or change anything, it's not going to happen unless I do the air freshener for a vlog. I'm buzzing. I'm ecstatic. I've had some crazy good times in it. I'm sure I'll have some more fun. So there she is. Thank you everyone. Legends.